Welcome to the Actually I Can Female Entrepreneur podcast. I am your host, Kaylee Greenacre, a business strategist, coach, TEDx speaker, author, and your go-to woman for all things business strategy. I am obsessed with supporting female entrepreneurs to grow unstoppable six and multi-six-figure businesses that they love, giving them the freedom and life that they desire. During this podcast, I'll be sharing with you everything that you need to become a successful female entrepreneur, from the mindset shifts to sales and marketing strategies, and how to become an iconic leader that people can't get enough of. It is my mission to help you stand out, attract your dream clients and customers, and sell out of your offers with ease whilst building the business and life of your dreams. Let's make this your reality, ladies. Hello, ladies, and welcome to another episode of Actually I Can, the Female Entrepreneur Podcast. And I'm joined today by the fabulous Jacquie Lawes, who is a personal brand consultant. And in this episode, we are going to be diving into stepping into your power as a personal brand. Jacquie, thank you so much for coming onto the podcast.
Oh, thank you, Kaylee. Excited to be here.
Let's start by sharing a little bit about your background, so your story and your journey.
Yeah, no worries. So I've been in the world of brand content creation for over 2 decades. So visuals are absolutely my jam in terms of how you stand out and position yourself in your field. I've worked with global brands and like small independent retailers, like you name it, I've worked with everybody. One thing that I was not expecting is the journey that you go on as an entrepreneur. So I started my business when my little girl was only a few months old, very much like threw myself into it, but I was seeing my business as a hobby and I kind of hustled my way through. I learned, I started to invest in different things, and I started to realize actually my background in brand could really help me to stand out as a business owner. But what I didn't know was because my background was all in business branding, I was focusing on the visuals and how my business should be standing out, but I actually hadn't done the self-discovery work. And years literally passed by where I was doing all of the things, my business was doing really well and thriving, but there was something in me that was just saying, there's something that's not aligned, there's something that doesn't feel right. I've kind of got a disconnect between who I am, I don't even know who I am. And it was a question somebody asked me once that was, who are you? And I can remember it as clearly as anything. They asked me who I am, and I answered by saying, I'm a mum, I'm a business owner, I do this, that, and the other. And they said, no, I don't want to know like what your titles are, like who are you? And I honestly did not know how to answer that question at all. Like I couldn't say who I was as a person. I think going through that transition from your life pre-children to then becoming a mum, having this responsibility of somebody else, and also running a business, like the two side by side, it's a lot to juggle and to learn. I was going through this whole stage of learning, but I hadn't actually learned who I was. And the self-discovery part was the bit that was missing for my business. And I realized I needed to really find out who I am as a person, like what lights me up, what do I actually want from my business. I'm doing all of these things, seeing all these other people celebrate their successes and wins and celebrating these incredible launches and everything. And I thought, okay, that must be success. That's what I'm going to go for. But there was just always this thing inside me, this voice inside my head saying that is that actually what you want? And I didn't really know. And it was going on this whole journey of, like I say, self-discovery to really identify what my vision was, what really lit me up, what felt good to me, and learning to love who I am. And that isn't an overnight thing. It's not something that you can just look in the mirror and go, yeah, okay, I've gone from really not liking my body or how I'm showing up or not knowing who I am to being, okay, I know exactly who I am. I love who I am now, and everything's going to be amazing. So it was a long journey that I've been on. But I can honestly say now, for the first time, probably since becoming a mum, I can look in the mirror now and say, I love who I am as a person, inside and out. Like, I know who I am. I've got a really clear vision in what I'm achieving. And the thing that I now do with my clients is I help them to have the same thing. So, your personal brand is what everybody sees about you. It's that first impression. It's your services, your offers, the transformations you have on your clients. It's literally everything about your business. So that is your brand. Your branding is the visuals. And what a lot of people have in terms of disconnect, and I know I had it myself, was I had the branding, I had the visuals, I was showing up as the absolute expert in my field, but there was a disconnect in who I was as a person. I didn't have that energy behind it, and I definitely didn't see myself as a leader in my field, although that's how I was showing up. And as soon as I started to connect the dots and started really stepping into my power, things started to happen. Things happen in my business, the opportunities landed, the ideas that were popping in my head, the clients that were coming to me, things literally started to shift. And what I love to do for my clients is really helping them to step into their power and know that it doesn't matter like how you're feeling right now. If you feel a bit lost or you feel a bit stuck or you feel like things just aren't moving, you can't force what isn't actually in alignment to you. And I think really discovering what lights you up and finding your path and your vision and being so clear on those goals, like that is incredible. That is what I love to help people with, because doing that for myself has completely shifted everything, not just in my business, but in my life as well.
Amazing. Such an incredible, insight in terms of, your journey and how you've got to where you are now and how you support your clients. So there's a lot to do with personal branding, and I know we're going to
Yeah.
dive into this today in this episode. And you've touched slightly in regards to the difference between, the brand, so the actual brand, and looking at branding, so things like your logos, slogans, taglines, etc., and then obviously a personal brand. So for our listeners, for those that are listening who may well have, a name for their brand, they probably do have a logo and a tagline and things like that, which is great. How then does someone build a personal brand?
So, your personal brand is going to be a reflection of who you are. It's going to be in full alignment with your own personal values, your personality, the mission that you're on. So, what is that inner mission? What is it that you want to make a change in your industry? Like, why are you doing what you're doing? Think of that thing that you are working towards. And it's not about, okay, I want to be able to get this many clients so I can achieve six-figure, seven-figure, like whatever that business goal is. Forget those kinds of figures and think, what is the mission you're on? How do you want to impact the lives of others or the businesses of others? Like, what is that for and why? Go really deep in that, because that is how you're going to start to show up as the authentic, fully aligned personal brand that people will come to. People will literally be magnetized to you and your message. So there's a big difference between someone that is showing up with all of the nice visuals because they will attract. That's exactly what I did.
Yeah.
And somebody that is showing up as a fully aligned personal brand that is a reflection of who they are in person. So when you meet that person, it's like, oh my God, that is just you. Like everything that you're saying, everything you're doing, how you're showing up, your visual colors, everything, it is you. And that is what you want from your personal brand. And it's about, like I keep saying about alignment, but it really is about being so fully aligned and having that energetic frequency that matches the desires that you want and not showing up in a way that you think you need to be showing up as in order to attract the clients and the opportunities and the connections and everything. It's about being that person in the room. I say in the room, I mean like in the online space, that is going to attract your kind of people, because you don't want to attract thousands and thousands of people that aren't aligned to you because they're probably never going to be clients. You want to attract the right people that are all in, like, hell yes, this is the person for me. And I always like to say it as it's like if you go to an event, like you imagine you're going to a wedding or an event or a networking event or anything like that. You go into a room and there are always going to be people that you gravitate towards. You love their energy, you love how they hold themselves, what they're saying, what they're wearing, everything about them. And equally, there will be people that aren't your kind of people. And that is what you want from your personal brand, because you want to actually repel those that aren't your kind of people and you want to magnetize the ones that are. So that is the difference between having a brand that looks good, that will attract anybody that just wants the service you offer, and a personal brand that will attract your totally aligned people. Because when you attract those people, they are the ones that give you the most amazing testimonials. They have the most amazing experience because they're aligned to your values and the services you offer. They're excited to work with you. Like working with you is not just a no-brainer, but it's an exciting part of their journey as well. Like that is what you want from a personal brand.
I absolutely agree with this as well. And I think it's so important, isn't it? I mean, it's always quality over quantity. We know that in anything,
Yeah.
in any aspect of business and life. And you're so, so right. I mean, it's also almost as if you look at it from the perspective of your friendship groups, for example. You know, when we look at our friendship groups now, back in school, we probably had, you know, loads of different friends and different friendship groups. And as you gradually get older, maybe into your teenage years, you start to choose your best friends and your core group, don't you? And it's
Yeah.
the people who you attract the most through energy, through your character, through your likes and dislikes, which is, you know, which is great. And actually, if we apply that to business, it's kind of very similar because I think you've said something really incredible there, which is about, you know, it's about your own stepping into your own personal power to create that personal brand. And I do think that authenticity plays a massive, massive part of this. And this is something that actually I learned very early on in my business. Not that I wasn't authentic, but the power of authenticity and actually
Yeah.
just sharing with your audience who you are and what you want to say, not worrying about everyone liking or agreeing with you, because that doesn't matter, does it?
No, not at all. And it's like you say, but people can feel it in your energy, and your energy is one of those things that it's not just how you're delivering a live or how you're showing up on your stories. It's actually the energy that you're in when you're creating content, when you're delivering to your clients. That energetic frequency is felt through what it is that you're saying. So when you're writing captions for social media posts, if you're not in the right energy or you're coming from a place of lack or need or desperation, you can feel it in the words that you use. Whereas when you're coming from a place of, do you know what? I feel so excited about this thing. I'm going to launch this out there. I'm just going to put it out to the world. You're writing about it from that energy of being totally aligned, excited about what is going to happen. You can feel it. There's a huge difference between the two captions that you would write in those different frequencies. So it's about really leaning into what feels good to you. And that is definitely something that I've had to learn how to do. Like going from someone that was all about business brand and I knew how to make things look incredible. Like people could come to me and say, Jackie, I need a rebrand. My branding's just not aligned. Could you do me? New branding, website, everything. Amazing. Of course I can do that. And then there would always be people that would go away with a rebrand that would have the energy of, I feel so excited with this rebrand. It's amazing. And because of that energy, that when they launched their rebrand, they would attract their dream people in and they would get the results. And then there would always be people that had the rebrand that gave them a boost of confidence, but they lacked the energy and the belief in themselves still because they hadn't done that inner work. So, yes, they had the incredible visuals, but they still felt like they were in the same place as they were before because they actually were out of alignment with where they were. And it was then that I realized there must be something missing. There must be a piece of the puzzle that is missing. That means I'm sending out these incredible brand visuals that are making incredible results for some people and leaving others not necessarily staying stuck, but just not progressing at the speed that they wanted to. Um, and it was then that I really realized that it was actually building your brand from the inside out. It's actually starting with that belief, your vision, leaning into your values and what you want, that you can then build a brand based on that. And then the branding, so those visuals come off of the back of that. It's almost the last piece of the puzzle, the
Yeah.
visuals, because they need to be aligned to what you're saying, the offers that you've got, your business, like everything about it. And I think it's so funny because we live in a world where it's so easy to set up a business. You could set up a new business tomorrow. You could create a new logo in Canva. You could design your own website template. You could launch an Instagram channel. It's not going to cost you hardly anything whatsoever. We've got all of this available to us to do. And yet it's funny that that is the very first thing people think of. I need a logo, I need a website, without the, okay, what is my strategy going to be? Like, what business do I want? What is that vision? And actually, it's all of that work. It's that belief, the confidence that you need to work on first. And then you work on the visuals at the end, because that is what is then going to be aligned and going to bring in those people.
Absolutely. Something that I support all of my clients with when they come to into Unstoppable is the foundation work. And I
Yeah.
do absolutely believe before you do everything, anything, it goes back to the originality of, what is your business plan? Like, don't create a business until you've got a business plan. But with the foundations, we do look at literally your vision, your values, your mission statement, your beliefs, and your opinions. And that is one of the first ever things that any client does when they come into my program. And then they focus on their story before they do everything else. And it's just so true, what you're saying there, because it's just so important to get that right first and to get that clarity, I think,
Yeah.
before you then create the visuals and then before you create content. And this is something I'd love to know from your perspective, because I know that you and I both have very similar opinions about this entire topic. But let's just say for some of our listeners that they've got a business, they've got their branding, they potentially have a little bit of personal brand as well, which is fantastic. But they're creating content, and they're creating content based on strategies that they've learned from coaches, from masterclasses, etc., right? And those strategies are clear. They know what they need to do. But what happens is they end up sounding like everyone else in the online space, which I know is a very common thing. That's why a lot of
Yeah.
my clients come to me. Um, what is your take on this? Because, we know that authenticity is key. And for someone to maintain their authenticity whilst creating content or sending emails is really hard when you've been taught basically a robotic strategy.
Yeah. Oh my God. So, so true. And you can see it, can't you? Because it's
I can see
almost,
it from a mile off.
oh my gosh, yeah. It's like when people are launching and they're all saying the same thing, and you're just like, it's just not like, is that actually what you would say? So, what I would do is, and you're talking about the foundational work that you do with your clients. I think it's one of those things that you can see as being uh like a fluffy subject, as I would call it. Like it's not really essential. Okay, I'll just quickly crash through this, like the mindset stuff. Yeah, like let's do all that. Because a lot of business owners think that that bit isn't as essential because they want to skip straight to the strategy. But
Yes.
actually, without doing that foundational work, you're going to make it so much harder for yourself to create an aligned strategy and an aligned brand, because that is what then leads to creating content more effortlessly. So your content is essentially like all your captions are what you would say to somebody. If you were speaking on a stage, if you were in person, how would you talk if you were delivering a live? Like using your words and your terminology. Because when you start sticking to templates or doing what everybody else has told you you should or shouldn't do, you're then overthinking everything. And as soon as you start to overthink, there's an energetic shift that happens. So, one thing, and I've done this myself, I think we've all been there with using templates, like everybody's done it. So, I'm not saying that anyone that uses it is like crazy. We've all been there, but it's about really finding your way of writing, because what you want to happen with your content is that people are scrolling, and whether they've seen the image or not, that they're reading your caption and already aligning that with you because they've read it and they know that that's how you write. And it's finding your own way. And I think, especially in this online world, like social media is so fast paced. Things are changing all the time. Should you use hashtags? You shouldn't use hashtags. You should use 5 hashtags, 30 hashtags. Should you use your keywords? And you like all of these different things all the time. And what can happen with someone that perhaps isn't in alignment is they've got all these thoughts going around their head of like, okay, should I be using hashtags? What keywords should I be using? I need to research that. Let's just use ChatGPT because I don't even know where to start with this. And like overthinking their captions so much to the point that when they actually create it, it sounds robotic, and you can feel it when you're reading it through. It doesn't read right. It doesn't read how somebody would speak. So in my own content, I don't worry about the number of likes on my posts because I know the way that I write is how I would be speaking. And I know that the people that are aligned to me and my offers and that would want to work with me are going to read that and connect on a much more deeper emotional level, because I'm actually speaking from what is important to me, what lights me up, what's aligned to my values, and in a way that I would actually speak in real life. So using your punctuation in the right place, using how you would say things, your own phrases, emojis if you want to use emojis. And it actually made me laugh the other day because I read a post that was saying a sure sign of someone using only AI and using templates is someone that uses loads of emojis. Like, I love emojis. I use them everywhere. So, and I know for a fact that I don't use AI or rely on it. But you don't worry about what other people are saying. Like literally just obviously things like call to actions are important, but I think as soon as you start overthinking, the energy will shift. So as long as you're writing from the heart and think to yourself before you write the piece of content, what is it you actually want from that content? Are you creating an emotional piece that is actually connecting with people on a deeper level? Are you sharing your story? Are you trying to sell something? Are you talking about a client transformation? Like, what is it? And what do you want people to get from that post? And what would you actually say to somebody in real life? And if it means you speak it in a voice note on your phone to then copy and paste that into your caption and maybe tweak it, like that is the best thing you can do. Speak from a point that, like, how you would speak, basically.
Absolutely. And I think for, for those that are listening that have potentially learned strategies, I mean, I teach lots of different content strategies and things as well. And I think you're absolutely right. If you take what you want to say first, because I think that's the thing, what do you actually want to say to your audience? Then work out what's the purpose of this post. Is it to nurture? Is it to grow? Is it to engage? Is it to sell, etc.? Find out the purpose. And then obviously you are all more than welcome to then apply a strategy to it. Because again, if people like
Yeah.
frameworks and strategies, absolutely, they're there for that purpose, and I know that they're very effective as well as you do. But I think you're so right. I think it's very easy to fall down this rabbit hole of, okay, so and so is posting content like this, so therefore I should be talking about this. I mean, at the end of the day, if it's not sounding like you, if it doesn't resonate with you, if it doesn't connect to who you are and ultimately to how you support people as well,
Yeah.
it's then you're not going to sell it. You're not going to sell.
No.
So it's so
Yeah.
important, isn't it?
It really is.
So let's talk a little bit about the mindset piece of this as well, because it's fascinating and really great for our listeners to find out a little bit more about how to build that personal brand and starting from the foundations and ultimately staying within your authentic self. But let's talk a little bit about the mindset side of things, because I think our mindsets can play tricks on us. But
Oh my
first of
God,
all,
yes.
can't they just? Now, the first thing is the self-belief piece. It's something that I truly believe is one of the most important things as an entrepreneur, or in fact, anyone. If you've got a goal, you've got dreams, you need to have that self-belief. So
Yeah.
what role does that create on someone creating a personal brand in the online space?
I think it's a huge role because when you're showing up as a personal brand, you're basically putting yourself out there to the world. So
Mm.
if you have any like issues with how you're showing up, if there's anything about your body image, if there's anything about what you're saying, or you're lacking confidence in your offers or anything, you're not going to be able to show up as the authority with the impact that you want to actually create with your audience. So I think it's a huge piece because you need to feel totally confident in what it is that you're doing. And confidence isn't something you can just like click your fingers and it's done. It's something you have to work on, and it's things like daily practices. So for me, I got to a point, and I think a lot of people have this, where you hit not necessarily a rock bottom moment, but a moment where you're just like, I'm not going to accept these negative thoughts in my head anymore, these things that I'm saying to myself, these beliefs that actually aren't true. And when you start to look for evidence of those beliefs, most of the time you can't find any. So I got to a point where I didn't feel confident in my own skin. Like I kept looking at my post baby tummy and like looking at myself and just thinking I'm not the person I wanted to be. I used to have a flat tummy before children, and how am I going to get that back again? And like almost trying to, I was constantly speaking to myself in a really negative way when I looked in the mirror. And obviously, that has a huge impact on your confidence in so many different areas. So, even one thing, and my body image and how I see myself in the mirror has nothing to do, or I thought had nothing to do with my business, but actually, it had a huge impact on my business because it meant that it was knocking my confidence on so many other areas. And as soon as I started looking in the mirror, I thought, no, I'm going to change this belief because actually there's no evidence like my body's grown three beautiful humans, like, and all these incredible things, and actually starting to learn to love who I am as the new version of myself. And I think, especially as women, we go through so many different stages, and we are in a society, we've grown up in a society where we are told how to behave, how to show up, that we need to be a certain way, that we shouldn't be like this, we should be like that. And you hear all these things and you get to a point where you're just like, how on earth am I supposed to show up? What is acceptable? And you lose who you are in the process. And I
Mhm.
think that self-love piece is so, so important that you learn to discover who you are as a person, who you want to be, how you want to show up, the impacts that you want to create, the business and the life that you want to create, and start learning to love the things that you have right now. Because even if you're not where you want to be, there's always going to be a million things that you can be so grateful for. And one of the things that actually shifted loads for me last year, actually in 2024, was I have always written like three things that I'm grateful for every single day. It's how I start my day. It's part of my journaling, my morning routine. And somebody said to me that they write a whole page or they write 30 things. And I thought, oh my God, 30 things. That is a lot. And the next day I got my journal out and I thought, do you know what? I'm going to just try this. And every day I write a whole page in my A5 book of things that I'm grateful for. And it's not a list, like these are long sentences. So the whole page is filled. And it is amazing how much you can be grateful for that you weren't even aware of. And it's doing things like this, these little shifts that make a huge impact in how you feel as an individual and also how you show up. Like those small shifts and changes will make a huge difference in all areas because it builds that confidence with like who you are as a person and like it shows in your content how you're showing up online.
And what about if people have a fear of being judged? Because I think this is one thing, isn't it? It's finding that confidence, absolutely developing and growing that confidence,
Yeah.
like you've just said, and having that self-belief within you to basically share your message, your vision, your values, your beliefs, your opinions. So that's one massive piece of work that, we
Yeah.
all have to do. But then there's also a blocker that I think that holds a lot of people back. It definitely did with me in my first few months of business, is that fear of judgment, the fear that other people watching me are going to judge me or say something bad.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. This is a thing all the time. And even now I go through stages and I feel like I'm probably the most confident version of myself I've ever been, but I will still get conversations from, as an example, like my school mum friends. They have no idea what I do. Literally no idea. I see them every single day. And I was talking to one this morning that had just said, Jackie, I saw your content. Like, I don't like, what is it that you actually do? And you're always going to get people that just have no concept of what it is that you do, or that will have these comments or anything. And you have a choice, basically. You have a choice whether you're going to let that impact you and knock you back, or whether you're just going to accept the fact that they have their opinions and that's okay because we all have our own opinions and views, but they're not your ideal client. They're
Mm.
not the kind of person that you want in your audience for your business. And you can have different groups of friendships and connections and things. And that is amazing. But it means that when you get any kind of negative comments or anything that might have previously knocked you, you get to say, okay, that's their opinion, but actually, I'm so confident and focused. This is my vision. This is what I'm working towards. And is that one comment worth me taking a step back and not fighting for that vision that I've got so clear in my head that I want? Like we've got one life in this world, and I think if we're allowing other people to impact us from stepping closer to the vision that we want to achieve, like that's just really sad if we're allowing we're giving that power to somebody else. It's about keeping that power within us so that we can actually step forward with confidence, knowing our worth, knowing that that vision that we are aiming for is actually coming towards us because of the actions we're taking. You're always going to get people that don't like something you said, that maybe get triggered by something you said, but as long as you're in alignment and it's your own personal beliefs that are really true to you and in alignment with you, you're going to have a whole lot of people that will be totally on your page and totally agree with what it is that you're saying. And that is what you want from a personal brand.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. We're coming to the end of the episode, Jackie. I would love to know what's your final piece of advice for our listeners?
I would say if you are somebody that runs a service, so you are somebody that is showing up as the person that your clients are investing in, you are a personal brand. So how you are showing up, the content you're sharing, your messaging, your visuals, everything is all part of your personal brand. So if you want to be standing out as a leader, as an absolute authority in your field, I would love you to just look at how you're currently presenting yourself, particularly in the online space. How are you presenting yourself? And is that in alignment with that vision that you have for yourself? And is that going to attract the kind of people that you want to be working with? Because sometimes just asking yourself that question and taking away the fact that you may have spent hours and hours or weeks on your own website, doing all of your content, all of these different things, forget any investments you made, forget any time you've done on like building your business to where you've got to, and just think from an outside point of view, from that dream client's point of view, are you showing up as the perfect fit for that person? Because if you're not, you can then start to pinpoint little areas that you perhaps need to work on or improve, or think of other ways that you could show up in a different way. And sometimes that does mean a pivot. Sometimes it needs a bit of a shift in your messaging or the visuals you're using, or maybe some new imagery or your captions or anything. It could just be one area that needs a shift that will make a massive difference. Like, you wouldn't believe how much of a difference the tiniest tweak can make to your business. And
Yeah.
that in turn will really impact your confidence. And confidence, like I said, it's an ongoing process. It's something we're always, all of us are working on. Even those absolute leaders in their field will be working on their confidence, because each time they scale, there are going to be those
Going up to that
voices
next
in our
level.
heads. Yeah, exactly. There'll always be those blocks, those bits saying, oh my God, this feels a bit scary. So confidence is something you need to be working on all the time. And your brand is not a one and done thing. It's a continuous
Yes.
cycle. It's something you are continuously working on, because you're not going to be the same person in 5 years' time as who you are now. Just like you're not the same person right now as who you were 5 years ago. So
Mm,
just remembering that it's a continuous cycle and something that you should be working on all the time.
absolutely. Jacquie, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here on the podcast as our guest expert. I've got one final question for you before we wrap up the episode. And I ask all of my guest experts this question: what is your one word of the year and why?
Oh, my word of this year is love, which is really good timing because it's nearly Valentine's Day when we're recording this. It's love because I have done a lot of work. I've put everything into my business, and this year I really wanted to not take a step back. I'm doing big things. I've got some big goals this year, but I am leaning into what feels really good to me and in full alignment. I'm doing things that light me up and that I absolutely love, connecting with incredible people. And yes, my word of the year is love.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. And where can our listeners find you and connect with you?
So I am all over on pretty much all social media platforms, mainly Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. You can find me at Jacquie Lawes. And then I've also got my podcast, which is Becoming a Powerhouse Brand, which Kaylee will be on soon.
Amazing. Go and give Jacquie a follow. Go and say hello to her, connect with her. All of the links are in the show notes. And I just want to say thank you again for coming on today.
Thanks so much, Kaylee.
Thanks to everyone that's tuned in to today's episode. Please don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. And I'll see you all again next time. Thank you for tuning in to the Actually I Can Female Entrepreneur Podcast with me, your host, Kaylee Greenacre. If you are ready to build, grow, and scale your dream six-figure or multi-six-figure business, then head to our website now for more information, or connect with me on socials to see how you can create your dream business and dream life.